Hello, I'm Danny and this is Big Bots Little Bots Armbot, and today I'm lucky enough to be looking at the Asus ROG Ally, or the ROG Ally. Just going to give my initial thoughts on it. I have my Steam Deck with me today and just comparing the two really, just getting a general feel with, do I want to pick this up? Is it easily accessible? And if there's any little niggles and stuff I found with it straight off the bat. So it's fully up to date. Let's jump into it.
Big bots, little bots. Wait, hold up 1 minute. Before we start, we need to say thanks to Konstantin. Wait, no, not that Konstantin, with a K, who let me test out his Ally and invited me to his studio. What a legend.
Slightly over 10 years, mainly Sidemen shoots.
If you come in here, you're getting shot and then hung and quartered off of that.
Don't worry, this isn't a noose and I did survive. This is just Con's cable management. He does a lot of epic setups.
Yo!
Yes!
Also, this is Jack, one of Con's crew, really nice guy. Legends like Matt Fosher film there, and now me. So if you haven't already, at the end of this video, go to the link in my description and go and subscribe to Konstantin. Cheers, Con. Big bots, little bots.
So, on first impressions of picking this up, I thought the weight difference was massive, to be honest. But actually, strangely for me, the Steam Deck does feel slightly lighter. I think it's more just because of your arm positioning. Now, I prefer a wider grip to like your standard controller grip, which is why I quite like the fact that you can take Joy-Cons from the Switch and have them by your side. With this, now, the first thing I would say is the grip does force your palm into a set position. They aimed for this to be perfect for every hand, apparently.
But the reality is it forces you to hold it in a way that is not perfect for every hand. So the device can take advantage of its cooling mechanics, basically. If you like to have your fingers on the bumper and the triggers at the same time, then you may find this to be difficult. As you can see, the Steam Deck is designed to be held comfortably both ways and also allows easy use of the trackpads. I found myself holding the Ally very loosely, which certainly isn't what all the research was intended for. Also, the Ally has a lot of grip, but it does feel like it could dry your hands out after a while.
It's not this uncomfortable, it's just that for me personally, if I wanted to put two fingers up here, I don't feel as supported as when I'm here. Whereas with the Steam Deck, I do think that has been aimed a little bit better at multi-angles. Now, I'd actually say the sticks are better on this than the Steam Deck. I found that using them, they had a lot better control. But bear in mind, obviously, with the Steam Deck, for finer movements, you'd probably be using the touchpad. So that's probably why these are more refined. Personally, I've had no problem with them. I found, at least in Hitman, that the controls were responsive enough to not cause any problems. I know there's been a firmware update that fixed a lot of reviewers' problems, although I have heard in games like Halo, for example, there were still problems. But again, the fact that it improved with firmware hopefully means that by the time this launches mainstream, it won't really be a problem for the average consumer. Now, another thing that I wasn't that keen on was these rear triggers here.
So first off, there's only two, which isn't a big deal to me personally, but most Pro controllers have four, as does the Steam Deck, which a lot of gamers like. However, my main problem was they don't feel very responsive, and they just feel a bit strange due to the shape.
Now, the audio quality on this is brilliant. So one thing that's instantly noticeable is the sound level. So the fans are extremely quiet. Even in turbo mode, it does make a big difference to the experience compared to the Steam Deck. And I totally get if you're in bed and someone's asleep next to you, for example, that might make a big difference. Say loudness wise, it is slightly louder than the Deck, but it's a lot more crisp. So there's a lot of positives there. Now, I've only been able to test Hitman, and on ultra settings on turbo mode it does work fine. Now in terms of battery, for me it's not really something you should be that bothered about, in the sense that most people are going to be buying battery packs for these anyway. With the Steam Deck, we've seen loads of people modifying them straight away. So one big thing is obviously the storage, but also the battery pack straight on the back. Now one thing the Ally has as a big advantage, according to Asus, is that there's not much difference in speed between using the SD card slot and the SS. In terms of navigation with the device, the ROG Ally is good for the most part. It takes a little bit of getting used to, which is probably, in fairness, is probably more a me issue and learning, where these buttons are quite close together for the menus, whereas on the Steam Deck they're further apart. I think on the Steam Deck it does make it slightly easier to remember what buttons do what, basically. But yeah, in terms of the device menu navigating, that has taken a little bit of getting used to, but over the few hours I have been trying it, I've definitely got better. Probably after a week of using it, it'd be a lot different. A few little niggles I had initially worked out. So for example, with the control mode, I didn't really realise that as a thing. So when I would get the task manager up, which is just a hold of that button there, I would have problems with the analog sticks not working on the menu and actually working on Steam in the background, which was causing some problems. After a little bit of fiddling around and working out that actually you can set the control mode, that did resolve that issue, so that's not a big deal.
So something that happened to me on more than one occasion was this. I'd be playing and then you'd get a conflict between Windows and the Asus software. So as you can see, a notification center popped up and then everything just becomes completely unresponsive. Now I've not really seen any other reviewers talking about this, but like I said, this has happened to me on multiple occasions while playing. So that's where the Steam Deck does have an advantage, is because its software is all enclosed to its own ecosystem. You're not going to get any conflicts like this, whereas where this is trying to use a special overlay to work with Windows natively, it is causing problems. So I hope this is something that can be just updated with firmware, and it shouldn't be too big a leap to fit. But it's just something I wanted to mention because, like I said, I haven't seen any other reviewers saying it, and of course it's very annoying.
So another thing that I found a bit frustrating was if you have the performance overlay on while playing the game, if there's a menu button or something in game that you need to use the touchscreen for, or the joysticks, it will get in the way of you touching that because it's a movable overlay. So it'd be good if you had an option to set that so it's just floating above and it doesn't affect anything in the game. Now out of the two, the Steam Deck is definitely brighter, but personally I didn't have a problem with this display. Everything was perfectly viewable. I've got some studio lights on here that are quite bright, and unless I'm holding it at a complete angle, there's not really a problem. It is an IPS display as well, so that shouldn't generally cause any problems anyway. The one thing I did find that the Ally really works well for is if you're browsing the web and that. I found that although the Steam Deck's been updated and it does work a lot better, when you're highlighting text, it's a lot easier on here.
So as I stated earlier, I believe the analog sticks are better on the Ally. As you can see, cursor movement is pretty pain-free, and it's easy to navigate around the Windows menus. Highlighting text was simple enough, and the typing experience was a lot better than on the deck, due to the fact that you can click a text box and the keyboard appears, much like a mobile phone, whereas on the deck you have to click Steam plus X to activate each time, which is a bit cumbersome. And this is where I believe the Ally could have a big advantage. Of course, everyone is talking about the gaming performance, but one key element of Windows software which has kept it at the top as the main operating system for businesses is the fact that it has a lot of capacity to work with much older files. So naturally, using Office etc. is a no-brainer, and this could mean you don't need to take your laptop away with you, making it a great device for working or leisure holidays.
You shouldn't have any problem running any of that software. Yeah, so from a portability point of view for holidays and that, great. Another thing is the white casing. So for me, I don't like the feel so much compared to the Steam Deck, admittedly, but as it's a matte surface, it would definitely pick up marks, and it has already picked up a few, and they are visible, obviously. I do prefer the glossy surface of the Steam Deck. Again, I think fingerprint wise that won't really matter so much, but if you've got grubby hands or anything and you are on the go, then that might be an issue. Just going back to the battery situation, so you'll get at least an hour on turbo generally. And what I would say is, again, back in the day when we had Game Boys and that, you'd carry extra batteries. Most people carry battery packs on them today, and you can get high delivery output on those now, so charging shouldn't really be a problem. Now, some things that I did find a little bit pointless, while it looks nice on promotional videos, the RGB I wouldn't say is really worth having on generally. I mean, the fact that when you're holding it, your thumbs are covering the majority of it, it's just wasting battery, and if that's a niggle, I know they're probably not high on the drainage front, but it's still additional battery. Also, when they're on the rainbow setting, I found that you get some little white dead spots around. I don't really think that's the optimal setting for it if you go for the RGB. Another thing that sort of begs the question with these, if you're completely new to this market, you've got to ask yourself what you're going to play, because there are limitations with both devices. So as Linus Tech Tips has said, Asus are making money off this. So like, for example, you usually get stickers in ROG products, you don't in this one. So that might be a little indication of they're tight on margin.
Now, the only accessory other than the charger that you get in the box is a cardboard, which I assume is to cut cost stand for the Ally. After that, it's all extra. So you have the ROG gaming charger dock that comes with a 2-meter USB-C cable and is priced at about £60. A modified Xbox controller, which is priced at £105. The ROG Cetra that Asus would like you to buy at £55. And the case is around £70 from what I've seen. And of course, if you really want it, the external RTX 4090 GPU dock will set you back at another £2,200, which is not really a mobile solution either. So the big question is it better than the Steam Deck? Well, yes, spec-wise for sure, but in terms of how groundbreaking the Steam Deck was in comparison to this, I don't think the Ally is anywhere near as much of a leap in innovation. But it's such a personal preference, as it's not just because of the raw power, but because of its other features. Some people love the touchpads on the deck, which the Ally does not have. Which is another reason this video isn't focused purely on gaming performance. There's plenty of other videos for that. So the Steam Deck comes in at 3 price points, the lowest being significantly lower. If you're happy to upgrade the storage and add a screen protector, you could make a huge saving in comparison, as the lowest model is only £349. The Steam community is also amazing for support, modifications and software development, so new games can constantly be played on it. And Steam itself has a great reputation for its customer service. Asus ROG, however, does seem to have a bit of a poor reputation from what I've seen online for its customer service. Another consideration again is the comfort of the Ally itself. It may be that you prefer the Ally, but you should really test both, as it is something that can make or break the experience. While playing AAA titles is awesome, consider how long your commute etc. is and when you will be using it, because what you may find is actually it's not worth booting up and using it, as you're going to be constantly interrupted. Which is why a lot of more pick up and go indie games do so well on the deck. And with all this said again, do you need more than your mobile phone? Depending on what you play, there are some great mobile ports now which can be enhanced further with a relatively cheap controller option. Keep an eye on this channel, as I'll be doing more videos on the Ally and accessories soon.
This is a powerhouse, so on full, a lot of the time you're not going to have problems, but obviously now we've got 4090 graphics cards, stuff is going to start ramping up. Potentially, at the end of the day, if you're using these for old school games and older AAA titles as well from the last few years, you'll probably have no problems running them. So would I personally buy one? I would like to have one to have more of a go on, get used to it and see long term how it plays, give it some more rigorous testing game wise. Yes, I think it's great, but it also depends on you, and that's the main takeaway from this video. Maybe don't pre-order it until you've tried it out in person. There's a lot of little user-friendly things that might make one a better choice over the other. If you're using it purely as a Steam gaming machine, it's like 95% of the time, this will play everything you need. They're both really good devices, it just depends on you. Hopefully I'm going to be checking out the Ayaneo as well. And again, that's another competitor, but I have heard there's a lot of problems with them and they're a smaller company. So as long as Asus keep good with their customer service, make sure people are happy, then they are a worthy rival to the Steam Deck, because the Steam Deck does have extremely good customer service. There's a lot of happy people with that. The graphics card thing, I think if you're going to go to that extreme, you may as well probably look at getting a good gaming laptop, because you're just carrying around more bulk, and to me it doesn't make as much sense. Maybe if you want that at home as your permanent thing, okay, but generally I would still recommend that you just buy a laptop. If you enjoyed this review on the ROG Ally, please hit that subscribe button, and hopefully I'll be doing a lot more reviews on tech like this in the near future. If you've got any questions, ask them below and I'll give you my honest answer on those. And yeah, I've been Danny, it's been Big Bots, Little Bots, Arm Bots, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.
Big bots, little bots.